Hey everyone, now that we successfully set up our database schema and saved our authenticated user to our database and also prepared a watchlist model, we will be looking at one of Next.js most important features, which is getStaticProps. And getStaticProps is a function in Next.js that allows you to fetch data at build time and then pass that data as props to a page component. In other words, when Next.js builds your application, it will pre-render the page with the data you fetched using getStaticProps. And this makes your page faster and more efficient because this data that we fetched is already available when the page loads. Instead of you having to wait for it to load from an API or database. So why is it going to be important in this tutorial? So we've laid out our dashboard page. So if you look at the final product that we have here, we have this button which takes us to our dashboard. So click on it right now. You can see how fast it loaded, and it already displays two sections: popular movies and opening movies. And popular movies displays a carousel of popular movies, of course, as you can see here. Why the next section here displays opening movies, the movies that are about to be released to the cinema, or for streaming rather, IW2. We're going to use getStaticProps in our own case to build out this dashboard. So if you notice, I'm going to go back again. When I clicked on the dashboard page, it didn't take time. A regular application, if I had clicked on it, it would have maybe shown a loader and take some time to display our popular movies and our opening movies. But in our case, we want to make it as fast as possible. So what is happening under the hood is getStaticProps had already fetched this data beforehand and then rendered it at once, so that when we navigate to this dashboard page, it just displays all what we need without having to wait for loading times or whatnot. So if we had fetched this data at runtime, like I earlier said, it would have slowed us down a bit because we have to wait for the data to load. The user would have to wait to see, let me have a moment to see the popular movies, and let me have a moment before I can see the opening movies. But with getStaticProps, we are already displaying the data for them once they navigate to that page. So in this part of the tutorial, we'll be building a dashboard page and writing the logic to fetch it at build time using getStaticProps. Okay, so one more time in summary, getStaticProps is a Next.js function that helps you to fetch data at build time for your pages. So when we are building our application or we build our app, Next.js will fetch this data for the page and include it in the final HTML file. So when the user visits this dashboard page, they already get the pre-built HTML file with every data included. And as you can see, it translated to faster loading times and a better user experience. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So this data we are seeing here comes from the Flexstar API that we are accessing via Rapid API. So let's take a final look. We have two sections here: popular movies and opening movies. Okay, so we need to fetch data. We need to fetch popular movies from the Flexstar API and also fetch opening movies from the Flexstar API too. So we are first going to write out the logic for the page before we build out the UI. So let's get straight into it. Rapid API has, look at the endpoint section. We have a movie section here, and we have this endpoint here called movie/getOpening. And we have this one right below it, movie/getPopularity. So we need both of them, as we are going to be using them in our application. There's another feature in Next.js, called pages. So that what's a page? What is a page in Next.js? A page is a React component that is used to render a specific route. So if this is the traditional React app, we would have a bunch of components that makes up our entire application, and then we will have to use a routing library to determine which component is going to render for a certain route. But in Next.js, pages are the primary way of defining routes and also rendering content. So how do you create a page in NextJS? So I'm going to go to our own project here. I'm going to click on Get Started. And now that we're authenticated, you could see we have this dashboard button, which doesn't link to any place. So we want to create a page, the dashboard page, and link it there. So how do we do that? We head to our pages directory, and you create a file that corresponds to the route that you want to define. So in our case, we want to head to a page with the route /dashboard. So we simply go to the pages directory and create a file, dashboard.js. And what is dashboard.js going to contain? It's just going to be a React component that's going to render the content that we want to display on that page. So I'm just going to run my snippet RFCE to render to quickly get or generate a functional component. Make this capital letter instead. Our dashboard, and I'm going to display a div that says dashboard, and I'm going to save it. So let's see that page in action. So remember, the page is going to be the name of the file. So in our case, it's going to be dashboard, and maybe /dashboard. And as you can see, we have the dashboard component rendering. So remember, to create a page in NextJS, you simply create a file that's going to correspond to the route you want to create in your pages directory. So assuming we wanted to create a page under the route, let me say let's say slash pages /dashboard. How do we achieve that? Let's click here to see if it exists. I can see NextJS says 404, this page could not be found. So how do you quickly create that? We're going to create a page. You're going to create a folder rather under the pages directory. I'm going to call it what? We're going to call it what do we call this? Oh, not pages. Sorry. Let's use let's say settings. Let's call it settings, for example. Settings /dashboard. So how do you do that? We just create a folder called settings. Settings, and move the dashboard page inside it. Okay. And now you can see the page now exists, right? So creating pages in NextJS is pretty much more cleaner and much more direct for me compared to, writing React and then having to use the router library to achieve, all that. This is much more, better. So now we created our dashboard page. Let's write the function for our getStaticProps. We're going to look at the NextJS documentation, and we're going to look at the example down here. And in the example, you can see we have our page. This is a blog page, right? And it's returning a list of some posts. And you can see this post is coming from the property. Then after that, right inside that same page, the blog page, we have this function called getStaticProps. And what it does is we're calling an external API endpoint to get the post, and we are saving it into the post. We are storing it into the post variable, and we are passing that post variable as a props. And now this post prop is what we are passing to the top of the blog page here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have our dashboard page, which is right here, and right inside, okay. Right inside, we're gonna write our getStaticProps function. So let's go. We write export async. There's gonna be an asynchronous function. Sync function. Get static props. And one thing you should know is that this data fetching method of getStaticProps can only be called on a page and not on a component. So we're gonna look more into that. So getStaticProps, and right at the end, we're just going to return props. And props is going to be an object of the props you want to return, and we're going to pass it in here. So right from our getStaticProps, we're going to define we're going to fetch the data that we want to be gotten at build time, and render to the page when our whole application is being built up. Okay, so let's do that. We're gonna fetch the data from the Flexstar API. So to do that, we are going to create under our lib folder. We're gonna write the request. We want to make this our code much more structured. So under the lib, under requests, where we had index, which has the options objects containing the necessary parameters to fetch from the Flexter API. So directly under request, you're gonna create a folder. We're gonna create a file rather called movie requests. So movie requests.js. And the movie request.js, you're going to write the necessary code to fetch our movies. And remember, we are fetching popular movies and opening movies. Okay, so we're going to head to the Flixter API and we're going to start with the get popular movie. So get popular movie, click on it. You see it says it's going to get popular movies. And let's test it out on Rapid API first. So we're gonna clear these optional parameters, and we're just gonna simply run click on test endpoints. And as you can see, it returns a data object with two keys, namely popularity and opening. In our case, we just want popularity, and popularity is returning an object, an array of 67 objects, and each object here is the movie. Okay, so what we're interested in right now is a code snippet. So we're going to click on code snippet. I'm going to click on JavaScript fetch, and this is the fetch function that we need. Okay, we're gonna write that down. So we're just gonna copy this. Just copy this endpoint. Let's copy this path and head back to our new file called movie request.js, and we're gonna comment up here and say get popular movies, and we're gonna export a function. Exports a variable called get popular movies. So get popular movies, and it's going to be equals to, of course, in the sync function, and so in here we're going to fetch that data. So we're going to create a variable called res, which stands for response, and we're going to paste in the endpoints from Rapid API. Okay, and we need to pass in the options object. So if we go back to Rapid API, this options object is this options object that's above it. And since we want to make it reusable, that was what we defined in our index.js file in our request folder. Okay, so we have to export it too. So I'm going to move here and export it. Okay, I'm going to head back to movie request.js and I'm going to import it by typing options, and it's going to import it. Okay, it's importing it, and yeah, that's it. That's going to be our res variable, which is going to be the fetch request to the options parameter. And after that, we're going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this raw data. I'm going to call this raw data. And it's going to be the response.json. Oops. It's going to be await, since it's an asynchronous request. Await res.json. Oops. Okay, so we are good to go. I'm going to return this raw data. And it's called raw data for a reason, because we're later going to prune this when we are rendering. So we're going to call it raw data for now. Okay, so now we've defined the request. So let's head back to our dashboard and our getStaticProps. We're going to create that is the property we want to export. We're going to pass down back to our page components. So we're going to call this popular movies. We're going to call it popular movies data. And it's going to be, we're going to await. We're going to call that request function that we just wrote. So I think it was get popular movies. Boom, and we are done. So the first part to getStaticProps, to use it, you go to your page components where you want to use that data fetching method of getting your request at build time. You write down your getStaticProps in that page like we've done here, and you fetch the data that you want. In our case, we've done that right here, and then you pass it as props in here. So I'm going to simply type popular movies data. And finally, you head to the page component at the top. I'm going to put in curly braces, and you're going to type that in popular movies data. And you're good to go. So let's see that in action. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head back to our page. So let me go back to our dashboard. Let me go back to our dashboard. The endpoint is supposed to be simply dashboard. Okay, see, raise a JSON is not a function. We are going to fix that out. Fix that now. Okay, we made a mistake. So, before we fetch, it's supposed to, put in the await keyword. So save. So I think it's going to work now. So yeah, nothing is being rendered because we are logging into our console. So I'm going to quickly open up the console tab. And as you can see here, let me refresh again. As you can see here, we have this data object that's been rendered, and you can see we are rendering the exact same response. We are getting the exact same response we got from here. As you can see, we're getting the exact same thing right here. Okay, so that's that. So let's now fetch the opening movies. So when we are done fetching everything, and we are then going to build out our UI. So now we've sorted that for get popular movies, which is right here. Now it's time to do the same for opening movies. So I'm going to head down here and let's test it out first. So we're going to go to Flex the API, click on get opening, and of course we're going to clear these. I'm going to click on test endpoints. And you can see we're getting the data with an opening object, which is an opening array of 99 objects containing details of the opening movies. So we're interested in the code snippet. We simply copy this fetch snippet, and we wouldn't forget to add our await keyword. So I'm going to comment here. I'm going to say get opening movies, and it's gonna export the function get opening movies. You see our functions are readable and they're comprehensible. So when I'm looking back at our code, we know what a certain function does. So we're going to define our variable res equals to wait and paste in our fetch snippet, and we will then pass in the options parameter that our code has imported. And right after that, we're gonna say raw data, because of course the data are going to prune this data so that I can properly render it. Raw data equals to await res dot the JSON, and lastly we're gonna return raw data. So head back to your dashboard, and in our getStaticProps function, let me comment it. So I'm gonna say load popular movies. So down here, I'm gonna say load opening movies. I'm gonna be const opening movies will be equals to await get opening movies. And lastly, what do? We pass it down here as props. So opening movies, and pass it down here. Opening movies data rather. Let's keep the naming consistent. Opening movies data. Opening movies data, and up here, opening movies data. And we're gonna log that too. So opening movies data. Let's see what that has for us. So go to our dashboard page, and we're getting undefined. And if we reload the page, let's see if that will be fixed. And as you can see, we have our opening data, opening movies data being logged. So we're good to go. And that's simply how to implement getStaticProps. So now let's make some finishing touches. So in our request here, we want to load the environment variable for our API host. And remember the environment variable file, you see we have this environment variable called a rapid API host. So head back to movie request, and I'm just gonna clear this out, and we're gonna make this a template literal. So how do you do that in JavaScript? You simply use backticks in here, and then the path you want to replace, have our $, and our curly braces, and process.env.rapid API host. So I'm just gonna copy this, then replace this with backticks, then clear this out and paste. And we should still get the exact same thing. So we are good to go. So it's time to build our UI. So to build out our UI, we will be using the exact same UI we have here. So we have two sections, popular movies and opening movies. So popular movies has this title text and a carousel of the data that was rendered. Start by building out the first part. We're going to create two different components. The first component will be popular movies. Second component will be opening movies. So let's do that. So go to I'm going to close this lib folder, pages folder, and in the components, we're going to create directly in the components folder. We're going to create a folder rather called sections. Another section is going to create the first component, which is popular movies.js, and we create one more opening movies.js. So save it here, and yeah, save it here. Okay, so now we're gonna render these two components in our dashboard. So head back to dashboard page, and in this return, just gonna clear that and React fragments and render both of them. So popular movies and open movies and save. So if you head to our dashboard here, you can see we have them rendered. So it's time to build out the components. So we'll be starting with the popular movies components. We'll start styling that. And if we look at our finished product, here it has a title, then a carousel. So let's define the title first. So we're going to be using Mantin, remember? And I'm going to search for the title components. So title. And it says use title component to render H1 to H6 headings with Mantin theme styles. So to use it, you simply write an opening and closing title tag. The order property, is to specify whether it's H1, H2, or H3, or down to H6, of course. And for the size, you use the size prop. So let's do that. So in our case, we're gonna make popular movies a title. So I'm gonna click on popular movies, the components here. I'm gonna clear this out. Okay, and then use React fragments because there's be more than one components here, more than one root components, and title for Mantin core. And in here, I'm just gonna say popular movies. And I'm going to give it an order of 2, an H2 tag, and save. We head back here, it says import and export cannot be used out of model code. Okay, seems to be making a bit. Okay, I missed a curly brace there. So you can see here we have popular movies. So let's quickly build that up. So I'm going to apply some spacing at the top. I'm going to apply some spacing at the top and at the bottom. So I will do just that. So put some spacing at the top. And we have this space component from Mantin. It's a self-closing tag. And we give the property a height as how wide we want the space to be. And give it string of MD, where MD stands for medium. And we have our appropriate spacing now. And now it's time to design our carousel. So the carousel is going to be used in multiple parts of application. So if we head here, we have a carousel here, we have a carousel here, and our watch list too. Let's search rather, because I don't have anything on our watch list yet. Let's search for Dune. We also have a carousel here. So we're going to create a carousel component immediately. And that's what's going to be right below popular movies. Okay, so Mantin has a carousel UI component. So I'm going to search for that, carousel. And you need to install the Embla carousel React and the Mantin carousel package using the package manager of your choice. We have that included in our starter file, so we don't have to install it. So let's look at the usage. So the usage involves a root carousel tag, and then each slide is going to be a carousel.slide component. So we're going to do that immediately. So right outside sections and inside component folder, we'll create a file called movie carousel JS, and let's start designing our carousel. So remember, the root is going to be a carousel tag, and it's going to have its own closing tag. Okay, and right in it, we want to we're going to have a list of data that we're going to map through. So we're going to have a list of we're going to pass in the movies that we want to display in the carousel slide. So we're going to be expecting a movies prop, and right in here we're going to map through the movies. The movies are going to be an array. So I'm going to say movies dot map, and for each movie, movie, we want to then render a slide, a carousel slide. Okay, so in here, carousel dot slide. Okay, and in each of these, we then want to display the movie. And then again, we're going to have another component let's go back to our finished product. You can see inside each carousel is a movie card. So we're going to define a component called movie summary card. Okay, we're going to define a component called movie summary card. I'm going to be a bit lengthy, but we'll soon be done. So the components, say movie summary card, the JS. Let's quickly build that out, and then we then import it into our movie carousel components. So each movie is going to have, let's look here. Each movie has a poster image, the title, the star rating, and a button. Okay, so what I'm going to use as an idea as the properties to expect inside it. Okay, so let's do that. In here, I'm going to pass in ID, the movie's ID, the name of the movie, the image of the movie, and the rating of the movie. Okay, so we'll be expecting. So let's build out the movie summary card. So Mantin also has a card UI components, and you can see the simple card. They're going to build that out right now. So let's get onto it. So follow along. We have our card components, and make sure you import the card components. So let's import it, the card components, and The card component is going to have a border, so we're going to give it a border prop. It's going to be a bit round, so we're going to give it some radius, and we're going to pass in MD, which stands for medium. We're going to give it some padding. We pass in P, and make that the medium too. So right into the card, we're going to have the card is split into sections. We're going to have card dot section. And now let's start the first section. The first section of the card is going to be our image. Okay, and this image is going to come from Mantin core, right? The self-closing tag. The image, let me save this. So the image, let's see. Okay, so the image expects a source, right? So the source is going to be the image prop that we're getting at the top. So type in image, okay, and it's going to have an alternative and also like a name. And the name is going to be the name of the movie. It's going to have a height of 250 pixels, and it's going to have a placeholder. So just in case the movie doesn't have a posted image yet, so it'll have a placeholder. And that's for the first section. That's for the first section. So the next section is going to be the title and the star ratings of the movie. So another card section. All right, in it we're gonna have a stack for Mantin UI, for Mantin core, and I'm gonna have a text which is going to display the name. So in here, I'm gonna pass a name, and this text gonna have a size prop. So our size is going to be large. It's going to have a weight. It's going to be 500, and we're going to truncate. We're gonna truncate these texts. So just in case it's lengthy. The movie's title is lengthy, so you have to import it to be sure. So we have truncate, of course. Save it. Then after the text, the name, we're going to display a rating component. So we're going to have rating, which comes from Mantin, and it's going to have a value. And so let's quickly check something. So if you look at the rating components, it expects a maximum number of we want to use it. Remember, ratings is on a scale of 100, right, or a scale of 10, and usually we expect to see 5-star ratings. So let's say if we see a movie with a 4.5, let's quickly check that out. Let's check the first movie, Dune. And now it's loaded. You can see we have this rating 4.15. So and if we check the data being returned here, let's look at the rating of the movie to start with. Do we even have that here? I think we should have that. So we have tomato rating, and you can see it's 89. So meaning the max it could have is 100. So if you're looking at 4.15, this is literally 41.5 multiplied by 2. That is going to be that should be 83. So the rating of Dune was 83 over 100. Then how do we scale it down to 4.15? You divide it by 10, divided by 2, and then divided by 10. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. So that we could fit it. So that's the logic to fit it into these rating components. Okay, so let's do that immediately. So right in our movie summary card, we're gonna create a variable called rounded rating. Is going to be the rating prop getting divided by 2 and divided by 10. So in our rating component, which is right here, we're going to give it a value of rounded rating. I'm gonna give it the so head back here. We have, look at the component props. We have fractions. Fraction, the number of fractions each item can be divided into. So in here, I'm gonna pass in a fraction of 5. And it's going to be read only. So that means when you hover, like if you head back to the rating components here and you hover over it, you can see it increases and decreases as you hover over it. So we don't want that to happen. Okay, so I'm gonna make it a read only. So that's for the second card section. And the bottom of the card is going to be the button, which says more details. So I have our button, components, and I'm going to type in more details. So we're going to pass in some properties to our button. And it's going to have a radius of MD, and I'm going to give it some style and flex of 1. That's the styling necessary for of our movie summary card. So we're gonna go back to our movie carousel, carousel components, and remember we are mapping through every movie that's part of the movie carousel and rendering a movie summary card in each carousel slide. Okay, so in carousel slide, I'm gonna say movie summary card. Okay, and I'm gonna pass in the props that we're expecting. So we're gonna give first, when you're looping, like in React, looping through something, give it a key. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a key, and the key is going to be, so we're gonna pass in the properties that we're expecting. So if we head back to dashboard, you can see a movie has an EMS ID, an EMS version ID, a name, a poster image, and the rating. Okay, so we want to make the key the EMS version ID. So that's going to be the key here. So it's going to be movie.ems version ID. And the ID of the movie is going to be that too. So I'm gonna make this I'm gonna give it optional chaining. So movie dot EMS version ID again. And the other prop is rating. So movie dot tomato rating dot tomato meta. So we can see that right here, tomato rating and tomato meta. That's what holds the value of our rating, our movie's rating. And we're gonna have the name of the movie, maybe movie dot name. And lastly, the image of the movie. And it's gonna be movie dot poster image dot URL. Okay, and that's it. So movie carousel components expect movies to be passed into it, an array of movies, and it's going to loop through those movies and render a slide for each of them. Okay, so that's basically that. So we're going to head back to our popular movies component, and then render that. So go to popular movies, and right below it, we're gonna say movie. We're gonna render the movie carousel. And remember, movie carousel expects a movies object, so it'll be the arrays of movies. And we're gonna pass in movies, popular movies. So where are we gonna get popular movies from? We're gonna head back to dashboard. And remember, we have popular movies data. Okay, so what we're gonna expect in our popular movies component. So in here, I'm gonna say popular movies, and we're gonna pass it down in here. And you're good to go. So for us to see that in action, we're gonna go to our dashboard and popular movies, we're going to pass in the popular movies data that we're getting from our getStaticProps and save. So we're going to expect some errors. And here it says movies map is not a function, which is good. So let's see. So remember, popular movies data is not getting an array of the movies. It's giving us a whole lot of nested stuff. So we're gonna filter that out immediately. Okay. So we're gonna go to our movie request under movie request, and this is where we're going to fine tune our raw data. So right here, I'm gonna say const data is going to be. So now we want to get the first 10 items from our opening movie. So if we go up here, we have popularity and we have opening. So what we are interested in popularity. So you click on popularity and we have this array. I want to splice this array into, just prune it, and we just need 10 movies out of it. So what do? We have data dot popularity. Okay. So in here, we're going to say this raw data, which holds the data, dot data itself, dot popularity. Okay. And how do we get the first 10 items from this array? Remember, the array has over 67 movies. So you just need the first 10. So you're going to use the splice method, the splice array method, and going to pick the first 10, starting from the first index. So you're going to use the 0. From our snippet here, it says 0-based location in the array from which to start removing items. So start from 0 and 10. And we're going to save those 10 movies into our data variable. And that's what we're going to return right here. So if we save it, we should have our problem fixed. So head back here and wait for it to load. And as you can see, we have our carousel of different movies, of 10 movies. And if we're having a warning of each child in a list, we should have a unique key prop. We're going to fix that right now. So you can see we now have 10. We are returning 10 movies, not 67 like before. So let's touch up our carousel a bit. So we're going to go to the movie carousel file, and we're going to pass in some properties to carousel. Okay. So we're going to fix the key property. So the key error that we're getting here is a React warning. We're going to fix it. It's coming from this carousel.slide. So we're going to pass it key, and it's going to be movie. I'm going to pass in something that's going to be unique out of every movie, which is their EMS fashion ID, and that should have our problem fixed. So let's pass in some props to our carousel. So in here, I'm going to give it a slide size of 33.33333. How many threes? Yeah, 333 percent. Okay, I think we should use threes. And I'm going to give it a slide gap. Give it a slide gap of LG. And mind you, these are all mounting props. So it's going to loop. So the carousel is going to loop automatically. And we're going to align the carousel to the start of our carousel container. So passing start and save. And as you can see here, you see our movies carousel is now looking a bit similar to what we have. So let's head back to our dashboard. You can see it's looking a bit similar, but not yet. So we're gonna correct that in a jiffy. Okay. So what else do we need to? So we've taken care of the movie carousel. Let's take the movie summary card. We still have a few other things to take care of in there. So we're going to apply some margin to our card. So we're going to head to the first card section, and we're going to give it a margin top, which is empty. Margin top of MD, which is medium, and some padding, which again is going to be medium. And what else? Let's see, what else? So the button, I think we've started our button already. Let's see if this is going to work. So let's save and check back. I can see we've gotten that. So one more thing is the rating. So the rating is not reflecting here. Let's see what could be wrong. Let's see. Rating is getting rounded rating over 2/10. So let's log rating to see what's rounded rating rather to see what is wrong. And it's getting not a number. So what could a matter be? Let's log rating instead. And they're getting undefined. So we're definitely not passing the rating properly. So let's see. Let's go back to our movie carousel to see what we're not passing. We're passing in movie.tomato rating. Okay, I think the M should be in small letters, I guess. Yep, I can see it's been fixed. So it was supposed to be in small letters. So we don't have to log this again. We've successfully debugged that error. So I'm going to add a bit of spacing up here. To do that, we will close this file and upload movies, and right here, let's give it a space component and also give it a height or a space of medium and save. Yep, we've sorted out the popular movies. Now let's build out a UI for opening movies, okay? So it's going to be very, very similar. But in this case, if we check here, the carousel is a bit different. It doesn't display the buttons like the first. So that's what we're going to take care of right now. So it's going to be very similar to our popular movies components. So we're going to copy the contents to an extent with the opening movies and and paste it. Okay, so let's touch it up a bit. So you won't be rendering the movie carousel instead because it's going to be a bit different. So we're gonna use the carousel itself, the code itself. We're gonna copy it and moving to opening movies, and we're gonna paste it here. And of course, we'll make sure we import the required packages, the required components rather. So import space, import title, what else? And our movie summary card. Okay, so we're going to add a prop to our movie summary card called variant. Okay, and variant. So the variant is going to be in a way that if the variant of this card is opening, it's not going to render the more details button. Because we don't want the user to see more details about a movie that was just announced because the data will not be populated or accurate yet. So we're going to go to our movie summary card, and we're going to pass in. You're going to have a prop here called variant, and I'm going to write a condition just up above our button, a condition statement, and we're going to say if variant is equals to the opening string, it should render nothing. Else, it should render these buttons. So we're going to copy or cut this button and paste it in here. Okay, I think I cut more than what I was supposed to cut. So I'm supposed to cut the button alone and paste it in here. Okay, we're good to go. Now, opening movies here, we're going to pass in a property or variant, and we're going to pass in opening to it. So I think we're done here. Then we have to pass in the opening movies prop. So we'll go to our dashboard, and we're gonna let's define it up here first. Opening movies. Gonna pass in define an opening movies prop here, and we're gonna say opening movies. So that's it. We're directly going to loop through it in here. Okay, so I'm directly going to loop through it in here. So yeah, so go back to your dashboard and opening movies is going to be opening movies data that we got from getStaticProps. And save it. I'm also going to see our opening movies components. And here, opening movies map, opening movies.map is not a function. So let's see. Let's see if we can fix that by refreshing. Back to our dashboard.